All right. Oh, okay. So, as I mentioned yesterday, I have a biology quiz due today at the end of the day. So, technically, I could wait like a really long time before I actually prepared for the quiz, but I do want to get it done early because I woke up early today to go to mass, and yeah, might as well get it out of the way, right? So I do want to mention before anything else, this one might be a long one because I didn't read the notes beforehand. So I'm just going to be going into it with what I have right now. I'll take a look at it and then, yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3. 3 pages of material to go. And yeah, a lot of my, I guess, live stream lectures will be like me reviewing the notes beforehand, and then I will try to kind of teach it in like a lecture style as if I were teaching a class. But today is not one of those days. I feel super casual, super laid back. So, nope, today's just gonna be me reading it and making it up along the way. I will say today's a very, very, very special day because guess what? I have cheesecake. It's gonna be a cheesecake lecture live stream. So I was craving cheesecake a lot this week, and I don't know why, but I bought cheesecake. We have 3 different types of cheesecake, or 4 actually. I think we have turtle, chocolate swirl, strawberry, and then the regular cheesecake. I'm not really sure what the difference between these 2 are. I'm not a huge fan of chocolate, but I'm really excited to try it because I've been craving cheesecake all day this week, or all of the days of the week, and all day during all of the days of the week. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. We have a kind of like a mukbang study session. Yeah, doesn't that sound amazing? So yeah, we'll be reviewing biology and drinking water because it's super hot. It's been super duper hot in Auburn these days, and it's just really important to stay hydrated during these times because if you don't hydrate, you could die. And it's not always a good thing to die when you're in the middle of trying to study for a degree, right? Right. So, I actually froze these cheesecakes, so I'm not entirely sure if I'll be able to eat them right this instant. And it might be more ideal to eat these cheesecakes later because then it'll kind of be like a reward for me. But I don't care. I'm just gonna try to. I'm hungry, so I also need to mention I bought a tiramisu cake and I ate like 80% of it. It's in the fridge right now. So right now I have the one of the chocolate ones. It looks like it's a cheesecake with chocolate swirl, but on the bottom it's like a chocolate cake crust. So about 35% chocolate cake and then 65% cheesecake. So good. Also, it's like 12:45 right now. So like lunchtime ish. I'll start studying soon. It's been 5 minutes and I haven't started on anything yet, except for the cheesecake. Not gonna lie, kind of like stalling because I don't want to study, but I kind of have to because what else am I gonna do? I have nothing else to do. Hung out with my friends yesterday. It was super fun. But today they might be doing other things. Like they plan on studying, and I would also plan on studying. Also, I can't. I have no choice. I have this test due today, so. Hmm. Also need to review that lab thing. My first lab is this week. Okay, sorry. I promise I'm going to start studying at the 8-minute mark. I'm not gonna stall anymore. But I like stalling though. I'll just wait until 8 minutes. And I'll try to eat as much cheesecake as I can, and then study. All right. Okay. It's been 8 minutes eating cheesecake and talking. Trash. Now we have to get to the real stuff. Okay. So this first unit is chapter 26 in biology, and basically what it's all about is phylogeny. And we will get into that in a little bit, but we go in. Oh, actually, let me define phylogeny first. Maybe it'll be like easier. So, phylogeny is the evolutionary history of organisms, um, where things originate and ancestry, basically. So I guess another way of saying it is phylogeny is just kind of like ancestral history and evolution, like the study of whatever was before, kind of, but like with the development and the kind of like the links between it instead of just evolution. And a few terms that are kind of related to phylogeny is biodiversity, and biodiversity is varieties varieties. I can't read today. It's a Sunday. It's like so bad. Varieties of life on Earth. So biodiversity and variety. Cool. Systematics. So this is kind of like this is a very like it's important word to remember. Systematics is the study of evolutionary relationships between organisms. So it's just like relationships. Like okay, so who did we evolve from? What did this animal evolve from? Where did they get these traits, etc. Okay, and then one thing, basic little goal, binomial nomenclature, which is like the two names for a species. So there's like the genus and the species. And there's two goals for that. The first goal is to avoid ambiguity because they're like each specimen species have like a certain name. So if you were to like okay, so if I see this fish and I call it a fish, well, like there's differences between fish and fish, right? Like there's multiple different types of fish. So we're gonna like use different terminology to like differentiate this fish from a different fish. The second goal of binomial nomenclature is to accurately reflect organisms. So a big example of this is like crawfish and just like, crawfish aren't fish. And I think jellyfish aren't fish. I'm not really sure, but we do know that crawfish aren't fish. But crawfish does have a specific scientific name in binomial nomenclature, and it does accurately reflect that organism because we call crawfish as a crawfish, but a crawfish is biologically not a fish. So the two main goals is to avoid ambiguity and to accurately reflect the organisms. Okay, moving on to a different term, taxonomy. So taxonomy is the science of naming organisms. So like the entire, like the domain, kingdom, species, that all those things are taxonomy. It's a part of taxonomy. And within taxonomy, we have taxons. The plural of that would be taxa. So taxon is just a named group of organisms. So like genus is a taxon, species, taxon. It's just a little group of organisms they have a specific name. And classifications, the definition of that is assigning organisms to meaningful hierarchical groups. So again, the domain, kingdom, phylum, all of that's classification because you're sorting a certain group of organisms into like hierarchy. So, like the lowest hierarchy would be species, the most specific hierarchy would be species, and then moving up, we have genus, and then stuff like that. Okay, and then going back to phylogeny. What is phylogeny again? Study of I already forgot. Oh, it's just a study of the evolutionary history of organisms and like ancestry. Okay, and within phylogeny, we have this huge thing, important thing to describe all the things we're studying phylogeny, and it's called a phylogenetic tree. And I actually have not drawn one, but you should know what one is, and if you don't know what it looks like, you should search it up because I don't have the energy to search it. Actually, I do have energy to search it up. Let me get my phone. You should know what it looks like anyways. It's not like I have to search it up for you to know, but I'm going to be a good person today. Okay, well that's not a good example of one. All right, so we have multiple different kind of like formats of a phylogenetic tree, but what you should know is they all are basically the same thing. They all convey the same meaning, same things. So this is one of them. It looks kind of nasty, but we're just gonna go with it. So can you see? I don't know how to. Maybe if I turn it down. There we go. So you see how like it's like kind of like it branches out. Okay, here's another example of one. I personally like this one way more. This is like my most favorite one. This is like a little square type, rectangle type organization. And then another one, which also is organized, but I just don't really like it, is this one. Kind of like a little triangle type deal. Okay, so that's what a phylogenetic tree is. Phylogenetic tree can also be known as a dendrogram. Dendro just basically means like branching out. So it's like a chart that has like a whole bunch of branches. And it's also called a branching picture, but honestly, who's going to call it that? Because it sounds dumb. We can call it a phylogenetic tree. So each part of separation in a phylogenetic tree, it conveys a common ancestor. So let me see. Why did I spell it as Cancester? I don't know. We're just not gonna. We're not gonna deal with. We're not gonna elaborate. Okay. So who instituted binomial nomenclature? This guy named Cardus Linnaeus. I don't know if we're supposed to know that, but he's important. He created binomial. Well, he didn't create it, but he instituted it. So that includes the taxa, domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Find out a way to memorize that. I mean, I already memorized it probably. Let me do it again. Okay. Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Yeah. I got it. I'm cool. I don't have to like worry about that. Anyways, that's like the basic little order to put animals in. But I will say one a huge note to keep in mind is when you're talking about genera and species, genera is always capitalized and species is always lowercase. I mean, when you're writing them together, they're always italicized in text. But in writing, you can just underline. It should be that way. Italicized on text and underlined when written. And then, how do you read a dendrogram or a phylogenetic tree? So every little intersection, because you know how like a tree kind of like has this main trunk and then branches out, and the stem, or not the stem, the start of each branch is kind of like a little like common meeting point, like an intersection. So there's an intersection like here. Let's pretend this is a branch, right? This would be the intersection. These are going to be the branches. So this intersection between these common branches, this indicates a common ancestor. And at the end of these points, it just represents a end species that evolved and came from this ancestor. And then, okay, it's called a breaking point. And then any position along a branch represents an ancestor leading to a taxon. So this is the taxon, right? The endpoints. So this is the common ancestor, but what about this part? It can any point on this branch could represent the ancestor of this end taxon right here. So pretend there's like this motherfish or something, I don't know. And then like we have clownfish and we have goldfish. So it came from a motherfish, but like clownfish didn't just come straight from the motherfish. It had to come from this fish, this fish, this fish, this fish, this fish, this fish, and then okay, I'm about to like make this a tongue twister. And then it eventually ends up as a clownfish. Same thing here. So there's this fish, like all the different fishes to make it end up with the goldfish. So basically that's what it means. And sister taxa is a group of organisms that share a ancestors that share an ancestor other groups don't. Okay, so you know how there's like a honestly, I might have to draw this. My phone is not helping me right now. Okay, let me go find my thing and then maybe if I draw it out, it's easier. All right, I have my big board with me. One day I will save up and get a actual iPad. Okay, so we got this tree. It's nasty. Let's not do that. Okay, that's also nasty. All right, so I have drawn us a very pleasant dendrogram, okay? Wait. Is it right? Is it? I feel like there's a little stem here. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Like every single time I think I'd marry it, I'm like probably wrong. Okay, so it seems like I could either choose to include that or not. But anyways, so here's the dendrogram. The oldest common ancestor is right here. Okay. And through evolution, it's gone a whole bunch of ways, as we can see right here. So what I meant by sister what? Sister taxa. So these are the taxa right here. Like I'm gonna name them A, B, C, D, E, and F. So these are the N taxa right here. And of course, this is a common ancestor. So B and C have this common ancestor. D and E have a common ancestor right here. F, D, E, and F have a common ancestor right here, but not right here. So I would say these two, D and E right here, they are sister taxa. So they share a common ancestor that F doesn't, and then A, B, and C also do not. Yes, they do share this ancestor, but I'm saying they do share one of their ancestors are shared that is exclusive to only them, is what I'm trying to say. So that is sister taxa. My face is being so itchy right now. I don't know why. But okay. Okay, I think there's a note right here that I'm supposed to like take note of. So it says Linnaean classification and phylogenies don't always agree. So an example of that would be Linnaean classification. It says that birds are a class of Ares, I think, and then reptiles are class Reptilia. But systematics shows what? Huh? It says phylogenies. I guess like modern studies and then Linnaean studies are different, like history studies, I guess. Anyways, systematics are, it says birds are a subgroup of reptilia. So like they're kind of like birds are reptiles, but they're just like a subgroup. So I would say that's what it means by like Linnaean classifications, and like modern phylogeny doesn't like really align. Sometimes they clash a little bit. Okay, how do you make a phylogenetic tree? So first you gotta infer an evolutionary relationship. It's kind of like the scientific method. So you kind of choose a hypothesis first. So that would be number one, inferring an evolutionary relationship. The second part is, you guessed it, you gather data. So you could look at morphology. Morphology is just basically characteristics and physical traits between animals. And I will say, when I say physical traits, it's not just the outside, it's also the inside too, because that's also physical. So it could be the anatomy of an animal on the inside or the outside. So that's what I mean by physical traits. Don't just think of the outside. That's not nice. You can look at genes. You can look at similarities of genes or difference in genes. And then you can look at biochemistry. So like shared enzymes and molecules. Yeah, you look at all those and more. Not just that. Okay, let's move on to traits. So there's two different types of traits that like kind of like shared or whatever. So there's something called a homology. And homologies, what are they? They are shared traits within the same group. So anatomical or developmental. Let me flip this page real quick. And then analogies are opposite of homologies, basically. They're phenotypic and generic similarities due to convergent evolution. So they're same on the outside, but different on the inside. So I guess homologies is like from evolution, from the common ancestor, two different species could share like a lot of the same characteristics, and that would be a homology. But an analogy is kind of like they're they ended up kind of the same, but they didn't come from a common ancestor. For example, like maybe like a cat, or I don't want to say a cat. I think in class, my professor said that like Australia has a mole, and then like I think Asia or some European country has a mole, and obviously they didn't come from the same ancestor, but they do look the same, share the same characteristics. So that would be an example of an analogy because they both have the same characteristics, but then come from the same ancestor. And this is called convergent evolution. And I'm about to get into it like literally like right now. So let's see. Okay, so there's two types of evolution. So from analogies, we can assume that they went through convergent evolution. And convergent evolution occurs when similar environmental pressures and natural selection produce similar, aka analogous, adaptations in organisms across different lineages. So the environment would cause adaptation. So basically, that's exactly what I said. Convergent evolution would be two different species, like completely different species, non-related. They end up at the same place, pretty much. Not really end up at the same place, but I would say like a white person, for example, and then an Asian person. They both like grown from different families, have different cultures, experience different things, but they both end up at Auburn University. That's crazy, right? So that's kind of like I think an example of convergent evolution, but try to like translate that into biology, not just a real life example. But I'm just giving the example of two different families and their kids eventually end up at the same place because of just environmental factors that cause them to kind of be the same way, you know? And then the opposite of that would be divergent evolutions. And divergent evolutions involve species that share a same common ancestry that become more distinct due to differential selection pressure, leading to gradual speciation. So the selection causes speciation. So kind of like same thing. Let's just think of like the mother bird, okay? There's eagles, and then there's little like little pigeons. I don't know if they share the same ancestor, but pretend they have a mother bird, okay? Like I'm about to just make this mother bird like a huge like example in a lot of my bio lectures because I don't know. I'm obsessed with a mother bird. So there's a mother bird, right? And they used to look like completely different, but now through evolution and the environment, they have ended up different. You know, one's a pigeon, one's an eagle. They look completely different. Going back to the Auburn thing, so pretend we have like an Asian family, right? And there's a big sister and then there's a little sister. They're from the same family, but through different experiences, whatever happens, friends, connections, they both end up at different colleges. One goes to Alabama, one goes to Auburn. So that would be an example of divergent evolution in our day. It's not actually evolution, it's just life, but just kind of bear with me. Let's like pretend it's a thing. Pretend I'm a genius, okay? Give me like applause or something. But I did actually write down specific examples of convergent and divergent evolution. So convergent, again, it's different. It comes together. And divergent is it's like it used to be together, now it's different. So convergent evolution would be birds, bats, and butterflies. What do they all have in common? They can all fly. They can all be in the sky, but they do not share a common ancestor. Like birds, they have their mother birds, okay? And then bats, they have their mother bats. And butterflies have their mother butterflies. But they do not share the same ancestor. But somehow, through evolution, they all became aviators. That's pretty cool to me. Divergent evolution would be like a fox and a dog. They became from wolves, but foxes and dogs are pretty different. Okay, so constructing phylogenetic trees uses only homologous structures. What is homology again? It's just shared common traits from ancestors. And why are we just doing homologous and not analogous structures? Why? Can you guess? Well, it's common sense. It's because a phylogenetic tree has common ancestors, and obviously common ancestors, you would branch it out and it come to different species. You wouldn't be able to put an analogous species on there because you wouldn't be able to trace it back to any ancestor. It just doesn't make sense. There's probably some other chart or some other way to graph that, but the point of a phylogenetic tree is to associate organisms to other organisms through literal lineage connections. So you can't just put anything in there, bro. I'm not gonna put some potato chips on a phylogenetic tree. I'm gonna put a mother bird and then the little baby birds on there. Because why? Because they originated from mother bird. Okay? Goodness gracious. If I get this wrong on the test, I'm gonna be so mad. I literally like yelled at myself on camera for no reason. It was probably like a 30-minute, not 30 minutes, it's been 30 minutes, 30-second rant about how I should be dumb. Okay, moving on, we have a term called cladistics, and it kind of sounds nasty. I don't like that word. I don't know, it sounds kind of like it sounds like a big word. Not like a not like a big in a intelligent way. It's just like big like my forehead type of word. Cladistics. And it comes from the word clade. It's kind of weird. I don't like it. It makes me unsettled. But we're gonna move on. Cladistics is the systematic approach using common ancestry as the primary criterion. It's basically systematics. I don't know how to I don't know how to differentiate. I will just say probably like a easy way to think about this is cladistics uses systematics. Just I think it's just like a specific type of systematics. I just don't like the word. Okay, and then clades are basically similar to Linnean design. Clades are nested within larger clades. So I'm assuming like species are nested within genus, are nested within families, are nested within order, and so on and so forth. It's just a weird word. It's just a weird word. And then the charts to describe cladistics and clades are called cladograms. Something about this feels wrong. It's like science from Walmart. Like somebody bought this science from Shein or something. This is crazy. I don't like it. Oh, and I'm gonna show you a cladogram. Probably looks nasty. So. Actually, I saw one and I thought it looked okay. So we're not gonna. It just has a really bad name. I don't like it. Not a very good name. Okay. Okay, I guess this would be a perfect example of a cladogram. See this? It's basically a phylogenetic tree. What is that? Okay. But yeah, it's basically a phylogenetic tree, but you see these clades right here? So there's like this clade that says hair. So it includes rodents and primates, right? I think it's just based off of like similar characteristics. So like these are in a clade, but then there's a bigger clade within there. So like there's this one, which includes amniotic egg. Yeah. So I guess it's just like it groups based off of classifications and whatever of like traits. So this is definitely way more narrow because not all of these animals have similar traits right here, and then these have more distinct similar traits. These have more distinct similar traits. Same for here. So yeah, it looks kind of cool. It looks kind of cute. I would not draw one because it takes so much time to draw one and color it all up, but it's a nice looking graph. The name just pisses me off. It's okay. Okay, we're gonna go through a few terms and oh, I'm gonna need my drawing for this. So this is I kind of messed it up, but it's okay. So this is again, what is it? It is a phylogenetic tree. It's a dendrogram. It's also a cladogram. It's also a. It was like a dumb term. Like I was not gonna use it because it doesn't make me sound smart. Oh, a branching picture. Yeah, it's a branching picture. Might as well just call it like a line graph or something. But so we have a whole bunch of clades or like terms to describe the clades. So we have monophyletic, which is a clade that consists of an ancestral species and all of its descendants. So how am I going to classify that on here? So an example. Oh, excuse me. Cheesecake. Okay. So this would be monophyletic right here. Oh shoot. I can't draw a simple square. Okay, so this would be monophyletic. Why? Because it has one common ancestor and all of its evolved species. And another example would be this right here, because it has that and then that species. And another example will be here, right here. And another example will be right here. And technically, it's just like all of this too. But we're just gonna focus on that. Okay. So that's monophyletic, just one family. Okay, and then we have paraphyletic. Para is kind of like around. So it's a clade that has ancestral species and some, but not all of its descendants. So I guess one example of that would be like, hold up. Okay, yeah, it'd be like this right here, like weird. There's a common ancestor. There's one of the evolved species. There's one of the evolved species, but it's not including D right here. D is being ignored. Okay, so yeah, so that's the clade I'm talking about, like just the ancestor and then two of its evolved species, not this one. That would be paraphyletic because it's leaving out some people, and that's kind of racist. What's wrong with Drake over here? Like, there's nothing wrong with him, but we're just gonna put other people into cliques, I guess. People these days. Then we have polyphyletic. So this includes distinctly related species without the common ancestor. So they're the related species, but not with the ancestor. So like I would say this is that right here. That would be the clade, the polyphyletic clade. We're leaving out the parents. Like kids always want to leave out the parents, but they're not often successful. But in the polyphyletic clade, you would definitely be successful because you're leaving out the common ancestor. So B and C are in a polyphyletic group. E and F are in a and their common ancestor in a paraphyletic group. This entire freaking thing is a monophyletic group, and I'm gonna erase this because it looks embarrassing and messy. Okay, moving on. Oh, so it's just describing what the traits. So shared ancestral characteristics. That's a whole term. It's found in ancestors in a group, and all of the organisms or all of the clade, the entire clade has that trait. So like in a monophyletic clade, you would find shared ancestral characteristics because they're passed down. So the origin of the trait is from ancestors. So what is an example of this? A vertebral column in all mammals, and it came from the ancestor. Okay, and the other type of characteristics is shared derived characteristics, not shared ancestral, but shared derived characteristics. And how do you get these? It's just from evolution. Just that evolutionary novelty unique to a particular clade does not include all of the ancestors. So it could include ancestor, but honestly, the main point of a shared derived characteristics is it came from evolution, not from the ancestor. So yeah. So yeah, and an example of that would be legs in some mammals, and it's derived. So not all mammals have legs because, well, some mammals have legs because of evolution, but all mammals do have a vertebral column because it came from the ancestor. Mhm. Absolutely. Okay. So, oh, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. We're gonna make a whole different live stream for this part. I'm gonna try to understand it, and then I'm gonna come right back to you. This is nasty terminology. I'm gonna end it right here. Be right back to talk about like all the morphes, like apomorphy and tapomorphy, plesiomorphy, synapomorphy, symplesiomorphy, all that. Can't understand. It's a different language for me right now. Let me go learn it, and then I'll get back to you. Bye.